I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Chris Webster. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I'm doing great.
It's a great pleasure to connect with you, Chris. Please do tell us, which part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in Reno, Nevada, the United States.
That's wonderful, wonderful. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
Podcasting. You found me on LinkedIn through podcasting.
Yeah. Tell us about your podcast, my friend.
I manage about 18 or 19 podcasts, depending on the month, for the Archaeology Podcast Network, which I started almost 3 years ago. I host 6 of the shows, and all the shows are about archaeology.
Wow, you said that as though it was a walk in the park. I host 6 of the shows.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the content of what you're dealing with via the podcast. I mean, just with archaeology alone. Wow. No wonder your last name is Webster, right?
That's right.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Got the opportunity to listen. Wow. Well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So where did you learn that skill from? That skill of being able to definitely remember, if you would, to be able to go through all of that content?
Well, I've been listening to podcasts for a really long time, and it was about 6 years ago, November of this year, actually, that of 2017, that I started my first podcast, because there wasn't a podcast for my industry of cultural resource management archaeology. And I took my knowledge of what I liked in a show and what I didn't like in a show, the ones I was listening to, and just started my own thing and kept it going. Later on, I started listening to other podcasts about podcasting, and got some pointers from Daniel J. Lewis from his Audacity podcast, and from Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting, and from other podcasters. So I was able to basically start just out of the box with what I had and kind of try to make it work, and then kind of refine those skills as I went along.
I know that you're doing that, my friend, especially I would say the most challenging part of what a podcast is doing, which is the history part, which is what you're doing. Why will you continue to repeat this skill?
Well, we get some really great feedback. First off, it's just really fun and it feels really good to put something out in the world that, podcasts are on the internet. They're out there forever and for people to find. And it's nice to have something positive and I guess good that people, nobody has any problems with our podcast. They listen to it, they learn something, and they come away from it, better people for it. And we get some really good emails from people saying that they really like to listen to our stuff. They enjoy it, and they get a lot from it. So that's why we keep doing it.
That's one of the things, Chris, you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
I would say the podcast network. It's funny that the question is 3 years, because, as I said, of December 1st of 2014 is when I took my one podcast and turned it into 19 podcasts over the course of the last 3 years. We started with the one, and then there was 2 of us, because I got a co-founder, and then we just started creating new shows and finding other hosts and people to host them, and we were producing all the shows, and I developed a few more shows, and that's been probably the most consistent thing over the last 3 years.
How does that make you feel?
Pretty great. I was just talking to somebody the other day. We had an email from someone in India just recently that she said, just listening to one of our shows, she said it really made her feel good and brought her through some hard times in her life, and she appreciated the content that we were putting out, and it let her live out a fantasy, in her words, of like being an archaeologist without actually doing it, so she could learn about far off places and things, even though she lives in an amazing place. It was really great to hear that we were making a difference.
The podcast artwork, it's definitely the small shovel digger thingy, right, that archaeologists use. What is the other thing on the side?
It's just the trowel is the part of the middle part of the icon, and then the stuff around the side we had somebody design that for us. It's like a speaker icon, so it's like we're speaking out. That's the sound waves coming out. I think that's what the symbol for the APN is.
Yeah, that had me thinking. I was wondering, wow, what does this mean? Yeah, it's pretty intriguing. Suggest to someone out there, because that's listening, why they should do what you've done. Specifically, not needing to do a podcast, but to follow your heart and do the thing that seems to be a calling to you.
Yeah, well, for me in general, that's archaeology, not just podcasting, because I do other stuff in archaeology, not just the podcast. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter what you got your degree in, it doesn't matter what you're doing right now. You should try to figure out what what you're passionate about, and just do that at all costs. And because it just feels great to do it. It feels great to wake up in the morning and say, I want to do this. And you hear people say, on Tuesday, that I can't believe it's only 4 days till Friday and then the weekend, where, I do the same thing pretty much every day, and I'm never looking for the weekend. I'm not looking for anything else. I just do this all the time because I enjoy doing it. So that makes it, when you enjoy doing it, it makes it so it's not a job. It's just it's a passion and a lifestyle, and it's what you want to do.
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live here from Chris Webster, again, the founder of the Archaeologist. Is it the Archaeology Podcast Network? Yes, sorry. Instead of the Archaeologist Podcast Network. Ooh, tongue twister. So it's Archaeology Podcast Network, right? You could definitely check that out. Really amazing stuff going on there. I have my son scheduled to lock into that because of the information that was there. Really amazing. Well presented. Well, Chris, let's switch gears for a moment, and let me now invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Chris, what is your earliest childhood memory?
I was thinking about that, and I think it might be using spark plugs, like for an engine for a car, spark plugs. My brother and I, when we were really young, we used to use the ends of them because we didn't have chalk to basically write on sidewalks out in front of the apartment that we grew up in. And that, I think, I was just trying to think, that's probably one of the earliest things I remember. Early place I remember living.
How old do you think you were in that memory?
We moved when I was 4 or 5, so it had to have been around 4, probably 4 years old that I was when we were doing that. So that's probably the earliest thing I can remember in that house, which would have been the earliest house. So
intriguing. Why do you think this memory is so clear, and do you see it connecting to who you are today?
I don't know. I think it's just because we did it so much. We really enjoyed it. I think we did it all the time. And in fact, after we moved, I know we kept doing that. And they even bought us like chalk, like buy kids chalk to draw on the sidewalk. But we really liked using spark plugs for some reason. I really remember doing that a lot of times. I don't even know why. So it was just a thing that we did. And yeah, I couldn't tell you. Maybe it was part of my early artistic side coming out, which developed into podcasting, my only artistic outlet.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Sure.
I love the idea, Chris, of what can be lost in time, even though it's clear what it could have been used for. It's intriguing how it can be interpreted as something else. And that looks like you're using spark plugs to write. And, as an archaeologist, I'm seeing an individual seeing something with the limited perspective of not being able to be there in time, and at least attempting to estimate or attempting to guess what it's for then, and using it. And it's just intriguing to see that curiosity then, as to see from archaeological standpoint, where you are discovering things and then seeing the various possibilities that thing could have been used. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but that does make sense. I like that.
Yeah, pretty intriguing, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty intriguing. Wow. So if we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Oh, my favorite song when I was 12. I had to look that up. Like, what were the songs in 1987? And I know, I don't know if I had a favorite that was like my one that I could remember, but I know "Lean on Me" came out then, and I like that song now. And I'd probably have to say that one of the hits that I'm looking at right now that are that came out at that time. So maybe the song "Lean on Me," I'll have to stick with that. I know I liked it then.
Wow. Well, I'd like to connect dots, Chris. I would say most definitely the dots do connect. I think because most definitely you did lean on yourself by following your heart. And now there are others that are leaning on you for the information that you bring to them. Yeah?
Indeed. Yeah, indeed.
Well, Chris, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Chris?
Yes, let's go.
Chris, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes, probably.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, it's probably more than 8. I do everything on the computer.
Chris, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Chris Webster, what would you say that is?
I don't know. I would say follow your passion at all costs. That's what I would say.
Chris Webster, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, I'd just like to say, besides the statement that I just made, podcasting is a great way to get a message out there. It can be done really easily. People think it's complicated, but it's really easy. We're training people how to do it now, not just in archaeology, but in other things, teaching people how to podcast. And I think if you got a message to put out there, then this is the way to do it.
Love it. Where's the best place for someone to connect with Chris if they're interested in doing that?
Just archpodnet.com, ARCHPODNET.com.
Love it. Chris Webster, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.